When my son told me to find somewhere else to die, "You're useless now." I packed my bags like the dutiful father I'd always been. 3 days later, I was sitting in a lawyer's office, discovering that my supposedly devoted wife had played the longest game of chess in history. Alexander was about to learn that sometimes the pawn becomes the king. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Let me tell you how I went from homeless widower to the man holding all the cards. Because, brother, this story has more twists than a pretzel factory. 2 months ago, I was Thomas Harrington, loyal husband of 42 years and father to one spectacularly ungrateful son. When Elizabeth died of cancer at 70, I thought my world was ending. Alexander swooped in during my grief like a hawk in tailored suits, cooing about how difficult this must be for me. "Dad, you can't possibly manage this big house alone," he'd said, his voice dripping with fake sympathy. "The stairs, the upkeep, all those memories. It's not healthy." I should have seen the calculation behind his concern. Alexander had always been Elizabeth's favorite, her little prince who could do no wrong. When he married that corporate lawyer, Sophia, and started producing grandchildren, Elizabeth doted on them all. Meanwhile, I was just the man who fixed things and paid the bills and kept everything running smoothly. After the funeral, Alexander became increasingly insistent about my situation. He'd bring Sophia over for family dinners where they'd corner me with real estate flyers and assisted living brochures. "Dad, these places are you'd have folks your own age, amenities, no burdens." What they meant was no inheritance to split, no inconvenient father to deal with. The final blow came last Wednesday. I'd been living in what Alexander now called our house for 7 weeks since Elizabeth's death, still sleeping in the guest room because I couldn't bear to clear out our bedroom. Alexander arrived unannounced with Sophia and 2 oversized suitcases. "Dad, we've made a decision. Sophia got the partnership and we need to relocate to the city right away. This house is ideal for us." I stared at him, not quite comprehending. "Relocate? But this is my home." Alexander's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing the cold ambition underneath. "Actually, Dad, according to Mom's will, I inherited everything. The house, the portfolio, all of it. I've been letting you stay here out of generosity, but it's time for you to find your own arrangements." The words hit me like a gut punch. "Alexander, surely there's been some error." "No error. Mom knew I'd preserve her legacy better than you ever could. You never grasped finance or strategy. You were just the husband. Just the husband." 42 years reduced to those 3 words. That's when he delivered the killing blow. "Find somewhere else to die. You're useless now." I packed my things in a day. 42 years of marriage fitting into 2 duffels and a small crate of mementos. Alexander watched from the doorway, glancing at his phone like I was delaying his next meeting. "There's a solid retirement community on Elm Avenue," he suggested with the enthusiasm of someone recommending a reliable mechanic. "Reasonably priced. I'm sure they have availability." Reasonably priced. My son was inheriting $35 million, and he was suggesting I check into what was basically a subsidized home for the aged. Sophia loaded my duffels into their Lexus with the precision of someone discarding recyclables. "Thomas, you'll appreciate the freedom again," she said, avoiding my gaze. "No more fretting over repairs or taxes. No more home," she meant. As we drove away, I watched my house, Elizabeth's house, Alexander's house now, fade in the rearview mirror. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent 4 decades making that house a haven, coaching Alexander's Little League teams, supporting Elizabeth through her treatments, handling every detail she prioritized. Now I was being shuttled to a cheap motel like a house guest who'd worn out his welcome. The Dawn Motel was exactly what you'd expect from a spot charging $55 a night. Stained walls, scratchy linens, and a rug that had survived better eras. Alexander handed me $250 in cash like he was settling a bar tab. "This should tide you over for a bit while you settle in," he said. "I'll have Sophia wire some funds to your account once we review Mom's files, some funds from my own legacy." After they left, I sat on the lumpy bed and tried to absorb what had just happened. In the span of 4 hours, I'd gone from mourning husband to destitute elder. The boy I'd raised, loved, and sacrificed for had cast me aside like an outdated gadget. But as I sat there in that dismal motel room, something started gnawing at me. Elizabeth had always been thorough about her affairs, obsessively detailed about key papers. She'd shown me the will years ago, walking me through her intentions, ensuring I knew it all. And I was dead certain that's not what it stated. Elizabeth had been many things: strong-willed, sometimes rigid, occasionally dismissive about practical matters, but she wasn't heartless. The woman who'd held my hand through my father's passing, who'd surprised me with tickets to ball games every anniversary, wouldn't have left me penniless. The next morning, I used the motel's spotty Wi-Fi to look up Elizabeth's attorney, Gerald Whitaker, the same lawyer who'd managed our home sale and assorted ventures over the years. His office was uptown, a 25-minute bus ride that ate into my scant cash, but it felt essential. Gerald Whitaker was a sharp man in his late 60s with steady eyes behind rimless glasses. When his assistant announced that Mr. Harrington was here regarding his wife's estate, he looked truly startled. "Thomas, my friend, I was wondering when you'd show. I tried phoning the house multiple times, but Alexander said you were on a trip. On a trip." That's what my son had told him. "Mr. Whitaker, I need to inquire about Elizabeth's will." He looked baffled. "Naturally. Didn't Alexander give you your copy?" I provided him the original and duplicates after the reading. My gut twisted. There was a reading. "Thomas, you were meant to attend. Alexander claimed you were too overwhelmed, that he'd manage it all and ensure you got your share." The truth crashed over me. "Mr. Whitaker, I was never informed of any reading. Alexander told me he inherited everything." Gerald Whitaker's face shifted from puzzlement to outrage. He grabbed a hefty folder, his actions suddenly brisk. "Thomas, that's inconceivable. Your wife's will is explicit about your bequest." He extracted a paper. I recognized Elizabeth's elegant script at the bottom, signed and sealed. But as Gerald began reciting, I realized Alexander had fabricated it all. "I, Elizabeth Marie Harrington, being of sound mind and body, do hereby bequeath to my beloved husband Thomas James Harrington the following: our main residence at 512 Willow Lane, including all fixtures and belongings. Additionally, I leave him 75% of all monetary assets, holdings, and accounts totaling approximately $26 million. My mind reeled. $26 million. The house, 75% of everything, Gerald continued, his tone darkening. "To my son, Alexander Harrington Reed, I leave $9 million to be held in trust, with payouts starting on his 50th birthday, contingent upon his treatment of his father following my death, contingent upon his treatment of me." Elizabeth had foreseen it. Somehow she'd anticipated precisely what Alexander would attempt. "Mr. Whitaker," I murmured, "Alexander told me I got nothing. He moved into my house. He gave me $250 and recommended a retirement facility." The seasoned lawyer's cheeks reddened with fury. "Thomas, what Alexander has done is elder exploitation and deceit. He's perpetrated several crimes, but he had papers. He presented them to me, forged, no doubt, or from a prior version. Your wife revised her will 8 months before her passing, expressly due to worries about Alexander's greed and entitlement." The room spun. All those instances Alexander had ignored my input, interrupted me at family gatherings, smirked when I attempted to join talks about their lavish trips or Sophia's firm deals. Elizabeth had been observing, assessing, deciding. "There's more. Thomas, the trust for Alexander explicitly states that if he fails to treat you with respect and care after my death, the full $9 million reverts to you instead." I gaped at him in disbelief. "Are you saying?" "I'm saying your son just forfeited $9 million. His share is now yours too. You're not inheriting $26 million, Thomas. You're inheriting $35 million plus the house and all contents." The irony was exquisite, almost comical. Alexander had been so anxious to seize his share that he'd activated the very provision meant to shield me from his avarice. "What do I do now?" I asked, my voice unsteady. Gerald smiled, and for the first time since Elizabeth's death, I felt real kindness aimed at me. "Now, my friend, we alert the authorities about the deceit, and then we phone Alexander and deliver the surprise of his life. Can he contest this? With what funds? He's about to learn that every account he believed he owned actually belongs to you. Every holding, every bank, every asset except your house is locked pending probe into his deceptive actions." I pictured Alexander in my house, likely already scheduling upgrades, browsing new appliances with funds he assumed were his. Sophia was probably plotting how the windfall would boost her legal practice. They had no clue that in roughly 5 hours, their universe was set to collapse. Gerald Whitaker's office turned into headquarters for what he jokingly dubbed Operation Retribution. He reached out to the police, the banks, and a private eye while I sat in his plush chair, still absorbing the scale of Alexander's betrayal. The counterfeit papers are remarkably convincing. Detective Harlan noted as she examined the phony will Alexander had given me. This wasn't impulsive. Someone orchestrated this meticulously. You suspect Alexander had assistance? I inquired. Definitely. Fabricating persuasive legal fakes demands expertise and contacts. We'll examine if Sophia or someone in her legal circle was involved. Within 3 hours, every account was locked. Alexander's cards tied to what he thought were his new wealth accounts were rejected. The house services, which he'd already switched to his name, were halted pending title confirmation. My phone buzzed at precisely 2:15 p.m. Alexander's name appeared. Dad, where are you? There's some glitch with the banks. They're claiming Mom's assets are locked. Hello, Alexander. I'm in Gerald Whitaker's office. You recall him, Mom's lawyer, the one who read the authentic will to an empty chair while you said I was on a trip. Silence. Then, Dad, I don't know what you think you've uncovered, but I uncovered that you're a fraud and a crook. Son, I also uncovered that your mother was far wiser than either of us gave her credit for. You don't get it. I was shielding you from the burden of handling all that wealth. You've never dealt with portfolios, or I get it flawlessly. You counterfeited legal papers, perpetrated deceit, and evicted your 68-year-old father from his own house because you figured I was too dim to catch on. His voice sharpened, frantic. Dad, you're mistaken. The sorrow has clouded you, and someone's clearly exploiting your vulnerability. The nerve was astounding. Even cornered, Alexander was attempting to gaslight me. Alexander dear, allow me to explain. Not only did you inherit zilch, but your real share, the $9 million your mother left you, is now mine too. Courtesy of a clever condition she added about treating me with honor and kindness. That's absurd. Detective Harlan is right here if you'd care to debate the absurdity of deceit charges with her. The line went dead. I could practically hear Alexander's brain worry, scheming, hunting for leverage. Dad, please, can we convene somewhere and discuss this sensibly? I'm certain we can resolve it. Oh, we'll convene soon enough at the courthouse for your arraignment. You wouldn't dare prosecute your own son. Something steely and resolute formed in my core. Watch me. I ended the call and glanced at Gerald, who nodded approvingly. How soon until arrest? Detective Harlan has sufficient proof for a warrant. They'll nab him tonight. And Sophia, her records are under subpoena. If she aided in forging those papers, she faced charges too. My phone pinged with a text from Alexander. Dad, please don't proceed. Consider the grandkids. I showed it to Detective Harlan, who smirked faintly. Classic manipulation tactic in these cases. I replied, I am considering them. Do they deserve to witness what happens when you rob family? 25 minutes later, Sophia rang. Thomas, certainly we can settle this discreetly. Alexander aired badly, but police involvement feels extreme. Sophia, did you assist him in forging those papers? That's not Thomas. You must grasp the stress Alexander faced. He was concerned for your cognitive health, your capacity to manage substantial funds. So that's a yes. It wasn't spiteful. She truly thought she was safeguarding you by ousting me from my house and telling me to find somewhere to die. Sophia fell silent. Sophia, here's the plan. You both get arrested. You both face federal deceit charges. And I'll be in my house, observing it unfold. Thomas, please be rational. I was rational for 42 years. It served me poorly. The police apprehended Alexander at 7:45 p.m. while he dined at Vincenzo's, evidently toasting his windfall with Sophia and associates. Per Detective Harlan, he yelled about wrongful detention and insisted on his attorney, who was Sophia's colleague with zero criminal expertise. Sophia was taken from her firm the following day. The forensic expert had linked the fakes to a print shop Sophia's practice used for bogus client proposals. Turns out, my daughter-in-law had a shady history Alexander either ignored or overlooked. I passed my first night back in my house in 42 years, in the master suite. Alexander had already shifted his items in, swapping Elizabeth's order with his clutter of gadgets and luxury watches. I bagged it all in trash sacks and set them on the porch. Let him retrieve them, post bail. The house felt altered now, not due to Elizabeth's absence, but because I finally viewed it as mine. For decades, I'd upheld it as Elizabeth's domain, shaped by her tastes, her demands, her ideals of our life. Now, seeing clearly, I saw how little of myself had ever featured in these spaces. That was changing. Gerald phoned around 11 a.m. with news. Alexander's bail is $75,000, with accounts frozen. He'll need external help. What about Sophia? $250,000. The judge wasn't swayed by her past financial infractions. Who knew your daughter-in-law was probed for insider trading? I hadn't. But I'd been sidelined from most family money talks. Alexander and Sophia had always addressed me like a novice on finance, dumbing down ideas they presumed I couldn't fathom. They were learning how much I'd comprehended. Gerald, I want house alterations. Alexander had architects queued for remodels. I'd like to advance some, but per my design. Great plan. It's your domain now. Thomas, make it yours. What pleased me, I found, was reversing every presumption Alexander made about my legacy. He aimed to demolish the den, refinish the oak planks, and transform Elizabeth's library into a cigar lounge. I was converting the library into a workshop and the lounge idea into a greenhouse. My phone rang. Unknown caller. Mr. Harrington. This is Lisa Grant from Channel 9 News. We hear you're the target of a major elder scam by your son. Care to share your account? Word was spreading. In a town this scale, the detention of a rising lawyer and her husband for swindling his aged father-in-law was headline material. Miss Grant, I value the interest, but I'm not prepared for public comments. I get it must be tough, but your tale could alert other elders to family money abuse signs. She made sense. How many men my age were coerced by grown kids viewing them as barriers to legacies? If I shared, do I control the narrative? Fully. We can do a controlled interview with your veto on the cut. I imagined Alexander, likely in a holding cell, still convinced this was a blip he could negotiate away. Miss Grant, I'll circle back. I may have a compelling tale. After disconnecting, I poured a glass of the premium scotch Sophia had gifted for holidays. Scotch I was sipping in my own house, bought with my own wealth, while pondering publicly shaming my son on air. Life had veered intriguingly. The doorbell chimed at 6:30 a.m. precise. Peering out, I saw Alexander on my porch in rumpled attire, appearing a decade older overnight. He'd posted bail somehow. Dodd, please, we must converse. We conversed yesterday. You told me to find somewhere to die. I found somewhere to thrive instead. Alexander's eyes were bloodshot, his typical poise shattered. I erred horribly, but I'm your son. Are you? Sons don't usually fake legal docs to pilfer their father's legacies. I wasn't she halted, scrambling for non-incriminating terms. You were what, Alexander? I was trying to spare you from bungling financial choices. You've never handled big money. Even now, post-arrest for deceit, he couldn't confess. In Alexander's view, he remained the wronged party by my inflexibility. Alexander, let me recount what your mother shared 8 months before she passed. She said she fretted over your self-importance, your money obsession, and how you treated those you deemed inferior. His complexion paled. Mom never uttered that. She said you echoed her brother, Victor, charismatic, persuasive, and utterly so. She told me she was amending the will precisely because she feared what you'd do to me with power. That's false. I retrieved my phone and displayed a video file. Actually, no. Your mother recorded a message detailing her rationale to play if you challenged the will or mistreated me post. Alexander eyed the phone warily. She knew, son, she knew your core beneath the polish. The sole unpredictability was your extremes. Play it, he breathed. I tapped play, and Elizabeth's voice echoed in the dawn, calm, deliberate, devastating. If you're hearing this, Alexander, my suspicions about your nature were validated. I prayed, I erred, I prayed my son possessed greater honor than I feared. But if Thomas plays this, you've confirmed my worst dreads. Alexander slumped on the porch as Elizabeth's voice persisted. I watched your father forfeit his passions, his goals, his autonomy, for 42 years to sustain our family. He took extra shifts to fund your education while I advanced my career. He delayed his hobbies, sacrificed promotions, and dedicated himself to being the husband and father we required. The message ran 4 minutes, each phrase precise, each line dismantling Alexander's defenses and illusions. By its close, when you learn this, you'll realize mistreating your father cost you all. I hope it merited it. When finished, Alexander wept, not the calculated tears he'd wielded since boyhood, but raw, shattering sobs. She despised me, he murmured. No, Alexander, she loved you enough to wish you'd disprove her. You elected to affirm her instead. He gazed up, tears carving paths. What now? Now you confront your choices' fallout. The deceit counts, the probe, the scandal when this breaks. The scandal. Channel 9 seeks an interview on elder money abuse. I'm inclined to accept. Alexander's face collapsed. Dad, please ponder the grandkids, Sophia's career, our family. I am pondering. You disregarded all that when committing felonies. He rose unsteadily, defeated as never before. I know you won't credit this, but I never intended escalation. I craved the funds, the assurance, the prestige, never fretting again. For once since the ordeal, Alexander spoke truth. I credit you, son, but craving doesn't excuse ruining lives for it. He nodded, tears persisting. What to mend this? Begin by owning your wrongness. Not erroneous, not safeguarding, not nuanced, wrong, utterly, irreparably wrong. Then endure outcomes with grace over manipulation. Alexander regarded me long, seeing not the compliant father he'd known, but the man who'd bested him utterly. I earned this, didn't I? Yes, Alexander, utterly. 4 days post Alexander's porch admission, Sophia's father appeared at my door. Reginald Reed was as anticipated, impeccably groomed, adorned in finery, exuding entitlement from generations of old money. Thomas, we must address this logically. I let him in, intrigued by the Reeds' spun narrative for their daughter's crimes. Reginald installed himself in my den, like bestowing favor. Sophia committed missteps, clearly, but pursuing her seems vengeful. No, vengeful. Your daughter aided in robbing my legacy and expelling me from my house. Sophia followed Alexander's direction. She didn't fully comprehend the gall to fault my son for her daughter's acts. Mr. Reed, Sophia fabricated legal docs. That's not direction. That's collusion in deceit. Sophia's counsel thinks settlement benefits all. You reclaim your house. Alexander bears fitting repercussions. Sophia evades trial publicity. Fitting repercussions, as if Alexander's offenses were a social faux pas. What settlement? Reginald grinned, sensing weakness. The Reed family offers compensation for your trouble. Say, $3 million to drop charges on Sophia. $3 million to pardon the woman who'd helped swipe $35 million from me. Mr. Reed, your daughter joined a plot that stripped me bare. You believe $3 million suffices. Thomas, realism. Sophia has a profession, offspring, standing, imprisoning her aids, no one. It aids justice. Reginald's veneer fissured. Justice, you're wrecking lives over funds you'd mishandle anyhow. There it was, the identical belittling that tainted my bond with Alexander. In their circle, I was mere staff who'd overstepped. Mr. Reed, we're finished. Thomas, rethink, $7 million ultimate, $7 million to free Sophia. Staggering sum, but ethics immovable. No, Reginald rose, poise, intact, fine, but Sophia's team uncovered intriguing details on your wife's enterprises. Pity if trial aired that. Threat evident, but I felt intrigue over alarm. What details? The sort prompting reevaluation of the true culprit. After departure, I rang Gerald pronto. Thomas, whatever they dug, it alters nothing on Alexander and Sophia's offenses, but could sway the case. Possibly, if they obscure enough, question Elizabeth's ethics or dealings, sway jurors. I reflected on Elizabeth, our union, secrets in 42 years together. Gerald, I need full insight into Elizabeth's ventures. Every transaction, alliance, anomaly. Thomas, certain. Past sometimes best undisturbed. The Reeds threatened smearing Elizabeth's name to shield their felon daughter. I'd prefer truth upfront. That night, I pored over Elizabeth's files in her office. My office now, methodically. Elizabeth was impeccably structured. Docs dated, filed, but deeper inconsistencies emerged. Transfers to phantom entities, advisory fees exorbitant, ties to outfits, paper. By 1 a.m., I'd unearthed a bombshell reshaping my view of my wife. The investigator Gerald suggested was a keen woman named Laura Kim, expert in white-collar crime. She spent 7 hours in Elizabeth's office, snapping docs, assembling the true scope of her empire. Mr. Harrington, your wife operated an elaborate embezzlement scheme via her advisory firm. Millions siphoned over 15 years. The shock struck physically. Impossible. Elizabeth was the most principled person I knew. Regretfully, proof is damning. She funneled funds from client trusts, masking as investments. I scanned docs on Elizabeth's desk. Bogus returns, fabricated audits, diversions, matching client complaints. How long? Records indicate 15 years, likely more. 15 years. While I mowed lawns and coached teams, my wife pilfered from vulnerable investors. Mr. Harrington, further, the $9 million for Alexander traced to embezzled client money. FBI involvement means seizure as illicit proceeds. Everything, house, holdings, all. Unless, Laura hesitated. Unless Alexander and Sophia's team knows and leverages it. Tipping FBI on your wife's crimes could buy immunity via cooperation. My son and daughter-in-law weren't mere thieves. They wielded a bomb over me. Options: legally self-report to FBI, seek mercy, lose most, perhaps retain house. Or, if not, Alexander and Sophia leak-timed. You lose all plus possible complicity charges. I recalled Reginald's smugness, his assurance I'd fold. They'd known Elizabeth's secrets forever. Laura, how'd they uncover? Sophia's a lawyer. She'd spot irregularities in records. Question their plan with this. Phone rang. Alexander's number. Dad, meet tonight. Things about Mom alter all. I know already. Alexander. Silence. No what? Embezzlement. Client fraud. Tainted legacy. Dad, hear me. Sophia's attorneys contacted FBI. Renegotiate. Sophia immunity for intel on Mom's network. You keep $7 million. House. Rest to government. And you. Charges vanish. We escape. Sociopathic brilliance. Alexander flipped my triumph to his gain. Alexander, you want aid in profiting crime by exploiting Mom's crime. Practicality. Alternative. Total loss. Possible charges. I surveyed Elizabeth's office, seeing clearly. Luxury decor, artifacts, all ill-gotten. Need, think time. Dad, FBI tomorrow. Answered tonight. Post-call in office shadows amid betrayal proof. 42 years wed to enigma. Son inheriting deception flair. But one era, underestimating, cornered me. Dialed Laura. Laura, FBI, meet, how soon? Tale for them, riveting. Agent Mark Ellison fit federal mold. Stern, sharp, charm-proof. In Gerald's room. Recording, noting precisely. Mr. Harrington, voluntary disclosure, admits profiting crime proceeds. Yes, but prefer truth over manipulation by son and daughter-in-law. Detailed all. Elizabeth's scheme, Alexander's fraud, Sophia's fakes, veiled extortion settlement. Son thinks trade wife's crimes, intel for own immunity, precisely, and expects my cooperation fearing loss. Agent Ellison grinned first. Fearful, Mr. Harrington. Agent, weeks ago, motel sleeping widower. Today confessing federal on late wife's fraud empire. Fear secondary, primary. Fury. Crystallized rage at decades-long underestimation. Agent Ellison's grin grew. Wire. 4 hours later, living room, device strapped, awaiting Alexander and Sophia for supposed capitulation. Knocked 7:30 p.m. Business attire. Sophia tote, likely doxed. Dad, improved look, Alexander said. Cheek kiss, casual. Clarity aids. Sophia unpacked tote efficiently. Thomas, structured favorably. House, 7 million clean. Immunity, Elizabeth related. Clean, curious term. Alexander warned. Sophia glance. Dad key, protection. Past, interred, forward. 35 million. Elizabeth left. Dad, tainted. Inseparable from Mom's fraud. 7 million optimal. You two gain. Sophia forward. Assurance back. Unfortunate mix-up buried. Alexander charges gone. Reputation sound. Family men's. Mix-up. Felony fraud mix-up. Sophia when learned Elizabeth fraud. Married Alexander knowing embezzlement. Or recent. Planning my theft. Sophia Alexander swapped looks. Thomas. Irrelevant now. Relevant. New. Said Nil Cesare. Discovered mid-crime unlucky. Alexander Kraken. Dad. Aiming. Months. Years. Planning. Fake will. Fraud find. Sophia forgery ties. Spontaneous. Laughable. Agent Ellison plausible. Faces blanched. Agent Ellison. Sophia hissed. FBI. Fascinated elder abuse. Fraud. Extortion. Especially blackmail dead wife's crimes. Sophia bolted. Grabbing tote. Thomas. Done. Actually. Starting. Agent Ellison. Agents entered. Tote. Phones. Seized. Alexander Harrington Reed. Sophia Reed. Arrest conspiracy wire fraud. Elder abuse. Federal witness extortion attempt. Alexander betrayed gays. Dad. Family how. Same forged docs. Stole legacy. Except legal. Cuffed. Sophia final gambit. Thomas. Unleashed havoc. Elizabeth associates. Dislike scrutiny. Danger. Agent Ellison paused. Writes. Threatening witness. Warning reality. Reality. Intimidation charge added. Removed. Agent Ellison reset. Mr. Harrington. Sophia warning. Valid partially. Wife tied dangerous. Dangerous. Primarily Vance syndicate. Decades laundering via legit fronts. Wife's firm key. Name unfamiliar. Expression conveyed. Physical risk. Possible, but twist. Agent Ellison thick file. Wife not just embezzling. FBI asset. 15 years intel on syndicate while seeming complicit. Deep undercover. Sensitive. Local offices unaware. Wife built cases. Funds real. FBI permitted. Keep cut cooperation. Cover. All left legitimate federal pay. Staring. Processing. 35 million euros legal. Wife died pre-conclusion. Cooperation yielded 52 arrests. 300 million seized. Why no tell? Ongoing. Unsure your role. Son, daughter-in-law. Fraud confirmed innocence. Alexander, Sophia, suspected fraud. Ignorant federal tie. Blackmail bid. Exonerate wife. Poetic irony. Alexander stole legacy twice. Fraud, then incomplete blackmail. Agent Ellison. Now, money yours. Son, daughter, in-law federal charges. Life your choice. Legitimate legacy. And Sophia danger note. Syndicate distracted own woes. Raids, multi-state dawn. Living room, resurrection site. Not shame. Agent Ellison. Opinion. Bad satisfaction. Alexander arrest. Mr. Harrington. Opinion. Refused victimization. Inspiring. 7 months later. Kitchen renovated house. Brewing tea to. Sun new skylights. Counters my pick first 42 years. Morning. Thomas. Dr. Laura Kim. Investigator. Sister. New advisor. Doorway folder reports. Morning Laura. Quarterly. Past 7 months. Legal storm. Interviews. Metamorphosis. Alexander Sophia 24-month sentences each. Coverage made. Elder rights icon. Portfolio stellar. Laura table. Foundation active. Grants awarded. Thomas Harrington Fund. Elder safeguard. 18 million legacy. Aid. Legal seniors. Family abuse. Push laws. Doc update. HBO Green. Filming soon. Tale beyond news. Father's Reckoning. True crime series. Precedes advocacy. Alexander. Laura cautious. Letter again. Attorney seeks apology. Pardon. Alexander. 22 letters. Prison. Read early. Justification. Desperation. Ceased. Some breaks. Unfixable words. Laura. Stance shifted. Per prior. No evolution possible. Even bad choosers. Reflected pre-7 months me. Invisible. Broke. Prospectless. Now millionaire philanthropists. Fund. Series. Purpose of Laura. Meet Alexander attorney. Not reconcile. Clarify. Clarify. Actions. Consequences beyond bars. Destroyed bond permanent. Kids learn mom prison why. Harsh. Intended. Adult choices harmed. Loved. No emotional escape letters. Laura noted. Grandkids Alexander supervised visits request. Ties. Adult choices. Not mom. Rehab. Doorbell. Delivery van. Crate. Workshop bench. Laura. Workshop fave project. Elizabeth office now workshop. Rediscovering woodworking. Abandoned marriage support role. Laura. Personal. Regret outcome. Sentences. Attention. Estrangement. Sign delivery. Pondering. 7 months ago invisible elder. Today empowered giver. Laura. Son tried steal. All. Leave homeless. Daughter-in-law. Faked. Blackmailed. Revealed selves powerless thought. Family still. DNA. Family guards. Vulnerable. Not exploits profit. Laura closed folder. Content. Besides, C became ceasing wharf. Laura gone. Toured house. Mine. My decor. Priorities. Workshop unveiled. Carving. Mandan light. Face future. Carving unlike suitcase backing widower. Powerful. Self-reliant. Fearless. Learned best revenge not even. Everything foes thought impossible. Outside. Sunset. My planted trees. My soil. Defended smarts. Grit not marriage. Birth. Tomorrow. Build. Chosen life. Not imposed. Alexander rebuild. Tie this man. Need transformation matching mine. Thanks listening. Subscribe. Comment. Stories. Voice counts.